Hi. In this video, we will learn about error types and error functions in Excel.
The if error function in Excel helps us to trap and handle errors. So sometimes when we do calculations and formulas and functions, we get different types of error types. So what if error does is, when we get these errors, we can give kind of a error message that we can display when we encounter these different types of errors. So the syntax is if error. The value is basically the value reference or formula you're going to check for in the error. And the value if error is the value you want to return, or you can say it's kind of a message that you want to display if you encounter one of these errors. So the syntax basically is where you have the if error, you have your regular formula, and if this formula returns an error, you can give a custom message that will be displayed. The if error function traps many types of errors: the hash NA, hash value, hash rep, hash divide by 0, hash num, hash name, and hash null. The hash NA is basically means not available when you use VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, index match functions like that, and you can't find some value. You get this hash NA error messages. Also, missing data and incorrect references can also cause hash NA. The hash value means there's an error in the type of data used in a formula function. One example is where you have used text where it expects a number inside the formula or the function. The hash rep means the cell reference is invalid. This may be because you have deleted some cells or ranges or data, and that range is no longer available. The hash div by 0, this means basically that you have tried to divide a number by 0. So mathematically it's undefined, so Excel can't calculate. You get the hash num error when Excel basically can't do a calculation. It's basically a numeric error flag. When you use invalid mathematical operators, like trying to find the square root of a negative number, sometimes you get overflow errors where number is too large or too small to display. Iteration problems like when you calculate IRR or goal seek, and sometimes invalid arguments, except like using log function with a negative number. So these are some examples where you can get the hash num error. The hash name error comes when Excel doesn't recognize text in a formula. It may be you have used the wrong function name, sometimes missing quotation marks or text, undefined name ranges, invalid cell references. These can be other causes. The hash null error occurs when your range is not given properly using the proper syntax. Sometimes, like without using a semicolon, you might use a space or something to separate ranges. So in such situations, you get the null error. Let's look at a hash divide by 0 error. So we have these two numbers here. So if we try to divide 100 by 0, we get a hash div error. So you can correct that using the if error function like this. You can type if error and then you do the formula as before, and then you put a comma, and now you can give the value if error. So here, if we want, we can say if there's an error to output a 0 there. So we can type if error is 0 and close formula, enter, and now you get a 0 if you get a hash div error. But if you get a correct number here, like a positive number, like 4 or whatever, maybe negative or positive, but not 0, then you get the answer correctly if there is no error. So only for error, the error correction kicks in and this value if error is displayed. Also, instead of 0, you can use what is called an empty string, where you can use double quotations together instead of the 0. So it will return an empty string. So here if I go and change this, I can put double quotation and now if I make this 0, this cell is now blank. So because of the 2 double quotations, it's a cell that doesn't have any value there. So it looks like a blank cell. So you can either show it as blank using double quotations twice, or you can give a error message. You can say can't divide by 0, something like that. Or you can say the number 2 cannot be 0. So here we have calculated value again, a division. So since we have no value in this cell, we get a hash div value over here. So here if we put some value, we get a correct calculation here. P69 divided by C69. So we can say something like this. We can say please enter a value in C69. If we get a error and there is no value over here like this, we can change the formula equals if error, and we do the normal calculation, and then put a comma, and for value if error we can put within double quotations please enter a value in C69. And if you enter a value, you get the division. Or since there's no value there, you get this message, please enter a value in C69. There are situations sometimes because there are these error values within your data, you can't do calculations like sum function and so on. So here we have tried to do a sum function, but because of these hash value errors, we can't get a calculated value here. So here what we can do is to avoid these errors, we can use the if error function inside the sum function. So we can write like this equals sum. And then we have a if error function inside. If error. And then we give the range. And if the range has an error, we can say value if error is 0. So that will replace any errors with a 0. Then we close the first parenthesis for the if error and then the second parenthesis for the sum function. Now it is calculating correctly. It's ignoring these two values and is summing the other values. So if I select these cells and then these two cells, you see the total is 3098. So that's what the answer we got here as well. So these two cells were ignored and zeros were replaced instead of these hash values. When we do lookup functions like VLOOKUP and we can't find a value, we get a hash n error. So for example here, we have written a VLOOKUP function and the lookup value is this cell over here, Nick. and the table array is this, and then the column index is 2. We want to find the score for the student Nick in the second column, and we want an exact match, so we have used false. So but because Nick is not available in this list of names, we get a #NA error like this. So if we had a name that was already there, like John, we get the value John's score is 95. So if it can't find the name, you get a #NA error like this. So to remedy this, we can wrap this VLOOKUP function inside a if error function. So we can type over here if error, and inside we have the lookup formula, lookup function as the value, and then we can put a comma, and then we can say if it's not available, we can display not found. So we'll put in double quotations not found and close the parenthesis. And now whenever a name cannot be found, we get the message not found. If the name is available, like Anne, we get the corresponding value for Anne, 29. So that's how we can wrap a function inside the if error to avoid the error. When we use the if error function, it's like, as we say, it's a blunt instrument. It will trap all kinds of errors. So all of these error types, it will capture. And for example, if we misspell the function name, we get the #name error. It will still calculate and give a alternative result. So this may hide important problems. Because of this, in most situations, it's better to use the IFNA function instead of the if error function. The IFNA function only traps #NA errors. It will ignore all the other error types. If error basically traps all of the error types. So if you want to isolate only #NA errors, you should use the IFNA function. So here if we use the IFNA function to wrap a VLOOKUP function, it will only give a message, error message not found, if the #NA error is encountered. So if there's another type of error other than #NA, it will still display an error message. So we can check it over here. If we write the formula over here, equals IFNA, and then we can give the VLOOKUP function. Lookup value is this, and table array is this, and column index is 2, and we want the exact match. You can close that, and then we can give the value if not available, or you can say not available, and close the bracket. So here, because Anne is available, we get the answer. Let's try Nick again, and we get not available. So if you only want to handle IFNA errors, you can use the IFNA function, because it only captures #NA errors. Excel has some other useful error functions as well. One is error. This returns true for any type of error except the hash NA. So it's basically a logical function that returns true when it encounters the hash NA error. Then there's isError function, which is again a logical function which returns true for any type of error. Then isNA function returns true for hash NA errors only. And the ref type function returns numeric code for a given error. So for different error types, there's different codes, so it will return a different error. So let's look at these functions. We'll look at this function first. And we'll give this error. And we'll copy it down. And you see, is a function returns true for all the other error types except for the hash NA. So it basically isolates the hash NA function. Let's look at the isError function equals isError, and we'll give this cell and copy it down. So isError function basically returns true for all types of errors. Let's look at the isNA function. So this basically returns false for all error types except the hash NA. So isA and isNA is kind of opposite functions. So except for everything, isA returns true, and for hash NA it returns false. And the isNA is opposite. It returns false for all other error types, but returns true for hash NA. So true means there's a hash NA error. So as we discussed earlier, ifError function basically identifies all types of errors. So it gives the error message for all of these error types. Let's look at ifRA function. So as you can see, it doesn't basically resolve any other errors except the hash NA. There it works and it returns an error message. So for all the other errors, it doesn't really work. It only works for the hash NA error type. Let's check ifError function. Let's look at the error type function as well. As you can see, the error type returns a code. For each of these error types, it has a code and it will return that error code. So for null, it's 1, and for hash div by 0, it's 2, likewise. So these are the useful error functions. You can use them wherever it's relevant for you to either trap errors or to find errors.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out our top-selling CPD certified Excel courses and our awesome Excel training app. Our innovative Excel training app allows you to take our Excel courses inside your Excel application itself, giving you a truly immersive learning experience. Now, if you like this video, why not subscribe to support us and get notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.